Why don't you tell us how you came to take that picture?
Well, one afternoon I was taking photographs all over the store for the StoriesComics Facebook page, and I took a random picture of one of the bookstore aisles, and when I loaded it into the computer, I noticed that there were two little orb-looking things floating down the aisle, and I don't know what they are, but maybe they're ghosts.
It has the potential. Definitely has potential. Any place where there's a lot of electricity, wires crossing, and fuse boxes, I feel like has potential to be haunted.
I do, yeah, because it's been here a long time and a lot of weird stuff has happened, so there's every possibility that if ghosts exist, they could exist here.
Everything has the potential to be haunted, but to tell you the truth, as long as I've worked here, I have never had anything super strange happen to me here. So,
I think, any place on this planet has a place for being haunted, depending on who lived on this land before they built this particular building.
Yeah, probably so. If there are ghosts haunting things, this would probably be a good place for it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, why not? I don't see why not. I mean, it is creepy here at night. I will say that. I mean, I don't like being here when it's dark.
I guess. I don't know what haunting means.
The night the ghost hunters came, Saturday, August 7th, got off work at 6 o'clock, and we were all hanging out outside. Around 9 o'clock they came. Apparently, right when they got in, some of them were feeling chills. I don't know what that exactly means.
I went back there with goosebumps on my hand standing up.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
All the way in the back there.
The best way to explain it is it's a feeling, it's an energy, I guess.
Right.
And it just, after a while, you're just uncomfortable. A good example is you go into a room. You go into your friend's house and they just finished arguing. Just finished. Just went into their separate areas. They're pissed. They've shut the door. And you walk in. You know that you can cut the air with a knife.
Residual energy.
You can feel it. You can feel it in the air. And it's the same thing when you go into somewhere that's, you may have wore out your welcome.
It's like, it's just this gut feeling that you get. It's really not explainable. It's just, you just know. It's different from any other feeling that you can get.
And then we met a couple, and there were two different groups. I think that Virginia Paranormal Society, and the other one was Ghost Eyes. And then Pam Kinney, I believe her name was leading the investigation. She was an author who had written a couple books about supernatural goings-on in Richmond and around this Virginia area.
So, Cameron?
I'm Pamela K. Kinney. I'm not only a paranormal investigator with a couple of local groups here, Richmond Paranormal Society, and another one which is Central Virginia Psyche Development and Paranormal Investigations. I'm also a science fiction writer. I'm also a nonfiction ghost book writer, which one of them is Haunted Richmond, Virginia, and the second one is Haunted Virginia Legend, Myth, and True Tale. And I have one book with a publisher right now that's in the historic Triangle area, and I'm now working on Haunted Richmond too, so I'm going to hopefully add stories to my book.
It was a little overwhelming because there were a lot of people. It got, to be very tight in some spaces because just of all the equipment and the people gathered together talking.
They came in and there were two different groups, and so we talked a lot to them. We were trying to get a feel for what they wanted, because I had never been part of a ghost investigation before, and they had a lot of equipment. They had a lot more equipment than I thought they would have, so that took a long time to set up.
They had a ridiculous amount of equipment too. There were cameras all over the place, and they were setting up computers and all sorts of gadgets and gizmos that I had no idea what they were. But I guess it looked kind of cool, with a little bit like Star Trek phasers and such.
Well, we're getting very high electromagnetic field measurements throughout the store, and that can mean spirit activity, but it can also mean there's, high voltage, machines or something giving it off. So it's not the be-all and end-all of determining whether there's paranormal activity or not.
EMF meter.
EMF meter. And what does the EMF stand for?
Magnetic field.
Electromagnetic field.
And that's been used by ordinary people for that sort of situations. You can get, and we did this with another group I was with, at Sailor's Creek last week, Battlefield. And we got it where we put it down. Mine was actually got real popular for some reason over the other one. And I had it down there, and we would ask the person, we asked the name of the ghost because we figured it out. Didn't answer. I said, well, if you're, bring on the light, because they only had the one light on. All the other lights, if you're so-and-so. And all of a sudden they came on, blipping. And then we would ask questions, it would blip it back with us like yes or no.
So the light is the indication.
Yeah, they seem to go in front, is what we're thinking, and they trip it that we can't do it, with our own self. But they're maybe because they're magnetic field. Who knows?
So there's no real sound explanation for why
No.
it picks up such things.
But it can do that. It'll do stuff, especially if you know there's nothing wrong in a modern place, or like so when it starts answering you in a kind of way that's not suddenly one light and suddenly there's four. When you ask it to do, I did it at Fort Monroe for my third book, and I asked in the bathroom, thought, well, I couldn't find the guy to talk to about the ghosts of the Hotel Champlain. And I asked, I said, well, if anybody's here, make the second light on. It came on. I said, if there's anybody here, make the third light. And it did that too. And it was interesting because at that point I was pretty well on the fence with these because it's a machine and there's always electrical stuff everywhere, no matter where you go. But here it was answering me, bump, bump, like that. So I've had a couple other times since, like at Sailors and other places, that it was doing the stuff for
So you
me.
personally have had experiences with
Yeah,
that where you believe the
it'll
ghost is
answer for
communicating
me
with you?
when I ask it to do. Another thing I have, besides the camera, any investigator who wants to do it, good old camera works every time. There's a digital recorder. And you can record it and you can ask questions and hopefully sometimes, which you can hear, sometimes that you can hear a voice in there.
Is that what
voices.
people call EVPs or?
EVPs, right.
EVPs.
Electronic voice phenomenon. And it'll just record and pick up things like that.
Have you had personal experiences with that as well?
Yeah, I've gotten
You have?
voices.
What was the most coherent thing that you heard through that device?
We were at one point where we were standing by one of those mausoleums. It was like a big family buried in there. And one guy was like talking and asking questions. And a couple of our EVPs, actually one of them said, "Get the hell out of here." The other one was like, "Shut the F up." Yeah.
Nice.
We've got
questions.
an EVP, and I tell you the highlight show that from Moon River, and it's about 2, maybe 3 minutes long. We think it's residual. And it's just men and women moaning, basically, crying for help. And it lasts for, right 2.5, 3 minutes long. And that's probably the one I've listened to that just affected you the most. It was kind of creepy, kind of eerie, and exciting all at the same time that you captured it. But I've had, what is your name? My name is, and they've told us names. And to me, that's pretty significant, and the history of a place is pretty significant. If you know somebody was here, and you know that person's name, and then we go out and investigate tonight, so to speak, and we get an EVP with that name, now you've got something that you can back up your experience with, you back up your EVP with the history of the building, and you probably got something a lot more significant than just walking through here and somebody say George on your EVP.
Nothing's locked, we can go. And then when I listened to the recording, I almost fell off my chair because the first really good one is a guy saying, "I'm not locked in here, you're not locked in here. It's a sanctuary." And then it sounds like ancient sanctuary, he says.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
And I mean, we were talking about locked. And this guy is saying, "I'm not locked in here, and you're not locked in here either."
I remember the one I was at, this one, I won't name the the bar because it's not the bar people, it's the owner's shopping center. It's not far from where I live at. I actually got a word, and there was nobody said anything that night except the guy talking to me next to me. And there was a voice, a woman's voice. I've gotten mommy or mammy at Crawford Road at night. That creepy. I've gotten wind on here at the Hope Light, and I know there was no wind that night because it was as still as can be and freezing cold. I've gotten other words that come on there, and I'll hear things. And this last weekend, because we downloaded Audacity again, and Audacity can make it much more clearer on your to hear this. And a couple of times I heard shh, because there was one point when my DVD camcorder was not working. I didn't bring that tonight, and for some reason would not work there. And these were brand new, not used DVDs in it. And I tried another one and did the same thing, and you can hear me complaining about the camcorder, and I hear this shh.
So the sound was correlating with what was going
somebody
on.
was telling me to shh, and it wasn't any of the other people. They were all, you can hear them in the background somewhere else. So, and then I heard later on a couple other shh. So I have no idea.
I guess after about half hour to an hour maybe, they told us to leave, and we had to turn out every single light in the store while they basically took over and did their thing.
Well, how about you to the new
We got an
room?
EMF pump in the back
that
room.
new room?
Very back room.
And try
And
that.
we'll blink.
We're gonna try at
red,
least change
blue,
off and
green.
green.
So if you see blinking
Yeah,
lights
2
back
and 2,
there,
so will be 3
that.
left.
It's
One of
equipment.
these-
It's equipment.
It's
in a square box, I like this.
They'll probably have 2 people near the DVR, and then that way we can give Steve chance that we can film.
That's fine.
Work the, watching the camera there.
So we
I
have
got
the
a
back
big red
room.
record button here. Ain't nobody
Hold
gonna
on,
know.
Jess. We'll have the back room.
They kicked us out because they had to start investigating for ghosts. So, and that involved turning all the lights off, so we had to go back outside. And we were out there for maybe about 2 hours doing absolutely nothing until we realized that this was going to take a while, so we pretty much just left.
And one thing they did a lot of was take pictures and record things, but we haven't seen any of the recordings or listened to any of the audio that they took that night. So we don't really know what they came up with. The only thing is that afterwards, when I turned the lights on and they all came up and they were talking about their experiences, that was really interesting because they talked about the presences that they had felt, and some of them had heard things, some of them had felt things, some of them had just sensed things, and they were trying to sort of clarify among themselves who had heard what, who had felt what, and whether they had heard like the same presences and the same spirits.